All right. Wait a second now. Wait a second. Listen. Brianna Stewart. Let's be real. We didn't even want you on the team. Hold on. Let's stop playing games, man. KTV, it's top of the morning. Brianna Stewart. Brianna Turner. We didn't even want you on the team. We didn't want nobody from the Connecticut Sun, okay? You came through, you did it.
Listen closely to the tone being used here, because this isn't neutral analysis or casual commentary. This is frustration spilling out in real time. It's a kind of frustration that has been building quietly among Indiana Fever fans for months. Fans who feel something is off but haven't felt comfortable saying it publicly. What you're hearing is someone finally verbalizing what many are thinking behind closed doors. Brianna Turner arrived in Indiana mid-season after coming over from Connecticut. On the court, her role has been clear. A bench player providing solid minutes, defensive effort, and situational depth. Respectable contributions, but nothing that fundamentally alters a franchise's direction. And yet, Turner has recently been making headlines for reasons that have little to do with her actual basketball production. Her public comments, her positioning in broader league debates, and her willingness to speak loudly on controversial topics have drawn attention far beyond what her role on the floor would normally justify. That's where the tension begins. In professional sports, there's always an unspoken balance between voice and value. Star players speak loudly because their impact backs it up. Role players typically let their play do the talking. So the uncomfortable question emerges. Does a role player have the credibility to dominate conversations when the numbers tell a very different story? This isn't about silencing opinions. Every player has a right to speak. But in the ecosystem of a struggling league and a fan base desperate for momentum, optics matter. When someone with limited on-court influence becomes one of the loudest voices, fans naturally start asking whether priorities are misaligned. For Fever fans especially, this frustration cuts deeper. They've watched Caitlin Clark instantly elevate attention, ticket sales, and national relevance. They've seen what actual impact looks like. Against that backdrop, public posturing from bench contributors feels disconnected from reality. It creates the impression that the conversation has shifted away from performance, growth, and winning, and toward narratives that don't put points on the board. That's why the tone matters. It's not personal resentment. It's a reaction to imbalance. Fans want accountability, clarity, and honesty. And when those feel missing, frustration stops simmering and starts boiling over.
She's not a Fever star. Stop it. She was getting DNPs. She wasn't even playing. Like, stop playing games now. When people got hurt, she stepped in and she played hard. I respect that, but don't. She's not a star. Y'all can relax. Fever's star makes her unrivaled.
To her credit, Brianna Stewart, a co-founder of Unrivaled, attempted to address the declining ratings publicly. Her explanation focused on broadcast timing and inconsistent time slots. According to her, playing on different days and at different hours disrupted viewer habits. It's a reasonable-sounding argument, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The WNBA plays on varying days and times as well. College basketball schedules are even more chaotic. Yet those games still draw audiences because people actively want to watch them. Schedule inconsistency doesn't kill interest. Lack of connection does. The deeper issue is the format itself. 3-on-3 basketball, even with elite talent, has not proven capable of sustaining mainstream attention. It lacks the rhythm, stakes, and narrative depth of full-court basketball. For casual fans, it feels like an exhibition rather than a must-watch competition. And without Caitlin Clark's name attached, the urgency simply isn't there. Fans aren't rearranging their schedules. They're not building habits. They're not emotionally invested. That's not a timing problem. That's a product problem. Part 5. This is where things become particularly uncomfortable for players like Brianna Turner, who are publicly defending Unrivaled. The league is bleeding viewers while simultaneously losing talent to competing platforms. Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Thomas, both important to the 3-on-3 format, have already committed to Project B for the upcoming offseason. That matters because Project B directly overlaps with Unrivaled's schedule. These players aren't hedging. They're choosing. They're signaling where they believe the future lies. Meanwhile, Turner and Ariel Atkins are set to participate in Athletes Unlimited, which begins February 4th. The result is fragmentation. The off-season women's basketball landscape is splintering into multiple leagues competing for the same limited audience. Unrivaled had the advantage of being first to market, yet it's already losing momentum. Viewers are drifting, players are exploring alternatives, and the league's identity is becoming unclear. In that context, loud public defense without matching results only intensifies skepticism. Fans aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for honesty, and numbers don't lie.
I truly enjoy watching women's basketball. I don't care if it's college, WNBA, EuroLeague, Unrivaled, Athletes Unlimited, etc. I'm tuning in whenever I get the chance, and that's cool. That's cool. Good for you. The people have spoken, and the people are not interested in seeing y'all play in Unrivaled. It is what it is. Okay, I'm interested in women's basketball. I watch WNBA. I tried watching Unrivaled. I just can't get into it.
This is where the discussion shifts from emotion to hard data. And the numbers are brutal. Unrivaled, the much-hyped 3-on-3 women's basketball league, just released viewership figures that should alarm every investor, sponsor, and executive attached to the project. On paper, the idea was ambitious. Capitalize on growing interest in women's basketball, provide an off-season platform for elite players, and create a fresh, fast-paced product. But the reality has been far less encouraging. Opening day in 2025 managed to draw roughly 300,000 viewers across TNT and True TV. At first glance, that might seem respectable for a new league, but context is everything. By the second season opener on January 17th, 2025, viewership had dropped to just 75,000. That's not a minor dip. That's a catastrophic collapse, roughly a 41% drop in audience. And the decline didn't stop there. By January 9th, viewership fell even further, cratering to around 30,000 viewers. Even more alarming were the True TV exclusive broadcasts, which averaged just 32,000 viewers. That's not a rounding error. That's a warning sign for a league positioned as the future of women's basketball growth. Those numbers are borderline disastrous. Viewership is the lifeblood of professional sports. It dictates sponsorships, broadcast deals, player salaries, and long-term viability. When numbers fall this fast, this early, it signals a product-market disconnect. Fans are not buying what's being sold, and no amount of branding or rhetoric can mask that reality for long. What makes this even more troubling is the timing. Women's basketball is supposedly at a cultural high point. Interest is up. Visibility is up. Media attention is up. Yet this league is moving in the opposite direction. That contradiction demands explanation, and it can't be waved away as growing pains.
Lower numbers averaging 32,000 viewers. That is awful. That's awful. 71,000 across the weekend is far less than the 2025 WNBA regular season playoff average of nearly 1 million across all networks. Man, the WNBA owners know they got so much leverage over y'all. They ain't even stunting y'all right now. The development of other leagues such as Project B is also a threat to Unrivaled in the coming years. Names like Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Thomas, players integral to.
Now put those Unrivaled numbers side by side with the WNBA's regular season averages, and the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. During the 2024 season, the WNBA averaged close to 1 million viewers across networks. That's not speculative. That's documented. And while multiple factors contribute to that success, one name keeps appearing at the center of the spike: Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark is on the floor, those million-viewer averages suddenly make sense. Ratings surge, arenas sell out, casual fans tune in. When she's not involved, the numbers tell a very different story. 30,000 viewers watching 3-on-3 basketball on cable television. That's not league-wide growth. That's star-driven inflation. The league keeps pointing to rising interest in women's basketball as proof of systemic progress. But what the data actually shows is something far more specific. A single player dramatically altering the visibility of the sport. That doesn't diminish other players' talent. It simply reflects audience behavior. Fans follow stars. Always have. Always will. Unrivaled struggles highlight that reality in harsh terms. Without Caitlin Clark attached, even committed women's basketball fans aren't prioritizing the product. Casual viewers certainly aren't. And that raises uncomfortable questions about sustainability. If growth depends on one transcendent figure, what happens when she's not part of the equation? Ignoring that question doesn't make it go away. It just delays the reckoning.
This month, both of which are quite profitable, per the league spokesperson. Reports suggest that merchandise sales have increased by 50% and resale tickets for the Philadelphia stop have increased to $123. Therefore, Unrivaled CEO Alex Bizzell and co don't seem overly concerned about the league's sustainability, but frequent player opt-outs and poor viewership are the initial warning signs for league management. That's a fact.
Listen closely to the tone behind this conversation, because it isn't casual commentary or manufactured outrage. It's genuine frustration finally boiling over. The kind of frustration that many Indiana Fever fans have been quietly carrying but rarely saying out loud. What you're hearing is someone articulating what a large portion of the fan base has been thinking. Something feels fundamentally misaligned. Brianna Turner joined Indiana mid-season after coming over from Connecticut. On the court, her role has been clear and limited. Solid minutes off the bench, defensive effort, and rotational support. useful contributions, but nothing close to franchise-defining. Yet recently, Turner has found herself in the spotlight for reasons that have very little to do with basketball. Her public comments and vocal defense of certain league initiatives have drawn attention far beyond her on-court impact. That disconnect is where the tension begins. In professional sports, there's an unspoken hierarchy. Players with outsized impact tend to shape the conversation. Role players usually let performance speak for them. When that balance shifts, fans start asking uncomfortable questions, not out of malice, but out of confusion. That confusion becomes sharper when you look at the numbers. Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 women's basketball league, positioned as a major growth engine for the sport, has released viewership figures that should concern everyone involved. Its 2025 opening day drew roughly 300,000 viewers across TNT and True TV. Respectable on the surface until you examine the trajectory. By the second season opener on January 17th, viewership fell to just 75,000, a massive drop. And it didn't stop there. Within weeks, numbers cratered to around 30,000 viewers, with True TV exclusive games pulling approximately 32,000 people. For a league marketed as the future of women's basketball, those figures are alarming. Viewership is the foundation of professional sports. It drives revenue, sponsorships, and long-term survival. Declines this steep, this early, suggest a deeper issue than scheduling or growing pains. And when you compare these numbers to the WNBA's 2024 regular season average, nearly 1 million viewers across networks, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. The gap isn't incremental. It's massive. This is where the Caitlin Clark factor becomes unavoidable. When she's on the court, those million viewer averages suddenly make sense. Ratings spike. Arenas sell out. Casual fans tune in. When she's not involved, you get 30,000 people watching 3-on-3 basketball. That doesn't reflect broad-based growth. It reflects star-driven engagement. The league can talk about rising interest in women's basketball all at once, but the data suggests much of that growth is being carried by a single transcendent player. Brianna Stewart, a co-founder of Unrivaled, attempted to explain the ratings decline by pointing to inconsistent broadcast times and scheduling. But that explanation doesn't hold up. The WNBA and college basketball both operate with varied schedules and still draw audiences. The difference is demand. People actively want to watch those games. Unrivaled's format simply hasn't connected. 3-on-3 basketball, even with elite talent, feels more like an exhibition than a must-watch competition for casual viewers. What makes this situation even more awkward is that Unrivaled is now losing talent while hemorrhaging viewers. Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Thomas have already committed to Project B for the upcoming offseason, despite schedule overlap. That's not a coincidence, it's a choice. Meanwhile, Brianna Turner and Ariel Atkins are participating in Athletes Unlimited, further fragmenting the off-season landscape. Unrivaled was first to market, yet it's losing momentum fast. In that context, loud public defense without corresponding results only fuels fan frustration. The numbers don't lie, and fans, especially in Indiana, are no longer willing to ignore them.